Today, as we continue the conversation on the future of our great country, I have with me an eminent Nigerian professor of sustainable development who is also the Director General of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. I'd like to welcome to Inside Sources, Professor Ayo Omotayo. Prof, you are welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. So, I mean, you hold a very important position as the on top of the nation's foremost think tank agency. So it's actually very fitting to have a discussion with you on the future of Nigeria. So I'm just going to ask you that. Where you sit as the DG of NIPSS, what kind of future do you see for our country based on where we are today?
Well, thank you very much. First, let us start by thanking Mr. President for taking certain bold steps in transforming the economy of Nigeria. Well, it takes a lot of guts for a politician like him to decide to go the route of economic reforms. So for us at NIPSS, looking and studying the economic trends, we are told that at some point Nigeria would have collapsed financially. If Mr. President didn't take those steps he took, we probably would have thought that we were doing okay, but then it wasn't going to work at the end of the day. Because I must tell our viewers that oil is gone. And if oil is gone, and we still continue to pretend as if oil was there, like it used to be 10, 15 years ago, Nigeria would just have suddenly collapsed. But with the agenda of Mr. President to reset the button and put Nigeria on a different trajectory, I believe there is a whole lot of hope. I've always told people that any transformation is tough. It's difficult. A whole lot of people would have to make drastic changes. We have to make critical changes to a whole lot of other things. And that unless we stay the course, we will not do well. But since Nigerians have decided, I believe so, and a whole lot of critical developmental areas are following the prompting of Mr. President for us to transform our economy, I believe there is a whole lot of hope. And I'm sure very soon we will begin to see the benefits of these economic reforms. Because if we talk about Nigeria today, we are basically challenged economically. And for people who have the figures, you certainly will know that there are just very few choices. If it's either we correct ourselves right now, as Mr. President is doing, or we keep kicking the can down the lane, and somehow we will still have to pick it up. Yes, I mean, these are tough times, and I understand how many Nigerians feel. But then our future is also very important. So we take the hard stick now to enjoy down the line, or we keep deceiving ourselves that all is well, and then suddenly something untoward happens. I mean, we are all living witnesses to what happened in Argentina about 10, 15 years ago, when their currency just suddenly went down. You know, people feel that Nigeria should keep defending the Naira, but with what dollar? You can't keep defending the Naira. The Naira just must perform. And how can the Naira perform? We need to be productive as a country. And I always tell people as individuals, we have to ask ourselves on a daily basis, have I been productive today? What have I contributed to the economy of Nigeria? And I'll tell you something, Laolu, it's unfortunate that most Nigerians don't even understand how an economy runs. Everybody talks about, oh, America is this, America is that. And I told somebody, I said, do you know that America does not own any oil? It does not own any mineral resources. All it gets comes from the taxes that those who operate businesses, individuals, pay as taxes. That is what America
also do some exploration, some oil production.
Yeah, but it never belongs to the American government. They only give licenses to the landowners. Right. Yes, America never took land from anybody.
True.
You know? So if you have your reserve, if you find anything on it, it's yours. But then if you're going to exploit anything, you pay your taxes. So for us in Nigeria, we must understand that the resources of government will come from about 2-3 main sources. For us in Nigeria, we are almost getting nothing from income taxes. Not up to 10% of Nigerians are actually paying taxes. Yeah. Meanwhile, if we compare that with America, I'm sure it's like in America, paying taxes is as important as breathing. I'm sure 90% of Americans are caught in the tax bracket.
People in the US will say that there are 2 things that are certain
yes.
in life. You pay taxes and you die. But I want you to deep in a few things that you said. So you said that oil is gone. It's important to...
When I say oil is gone, figuratively, it's not going to have that pride of place anymore. Yes, we're going to struggle to try to up the tempo, try to get more investment into it. But now I tell you, we have to start looking elsewhere, and we have to start looking elsewhere seriously.
But I wanted to explain to our viewers why that is so, because, what's the most of our people understand is that, look, we have quite a lot of oil reserves, and all we've got to do is to pump it. Now, I understand that when you look at the issue of climate change, the move towards net zero emissions and all of that, the progress of electronic vehicles, and a lot of alternatives. But most Nigerians don't get that. That's why
I mentioned it earlier that we don't have enough education, and I don't know who is going to give the education. Now, if you take oil now, you already mentioned the matter of climate change. Everybody is running away from fossil fuel. Okay. Now, there have been a lot of technological advancement in other alternative energy sources.
Yeah.
I think by 2030, all vehicles driving in Germany or most of Europe will be driving on different sources of energy. And these are the major consumers of this oil. Now, we can keep investing, trying to look for oil. But ultimately, we'll get to a point where the oil will be there, but nobody will be needing it, because it's just one source of energy that became so important, and for so long, it made those who have it very rich. And of course, if something is making me rich, I'm not going to encourage any other sources. But the world has opened up to the fact that there must be alternatives. And of course, as an environmentalist, I know that there must be an alternative, since science has proven that fossil fuels put together are causing a whole lot of problem in the atmosphere. So it's just a matter of time. Yes, in the short term, Nigeria may try to up the tempo in terms of exploration and then trying to sell. But we had better started looking at the alternative sources of energy for us. Our budget of 2023, we worked on the energy sources, alternative energy, and we had recommended then to the federal government that the CNG will be the transition fuel. And I'm happy that government took up the adoption. Yes, but I'm very sure that government is looking at how they can encourage private sector investments in it. But if it's going to be a new sector, and of course there have to be regulation, a lot of things have to be put in place to encourage investment in that area. It shouldn't be the federal government again that will be investing in CNG conversion kits. Yes, they can encourage the takeoff, but then I believe they should open it up. I'm sure they will start. Government will open it up for private sector investors, and then it will affect the whole economy positively.
Actually, I think is it NIPSS? Actually,
yes,
one private business that had the meeting with the president, I think, a couple of weeks back, also came in to say that they were investing quite a bit in that. But I wanted to shift gears a little bit, just so the people can understand, the role that your agency play in all of this. So the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, what most Nigerians know about it is the MNI. That the people that go there, they get MNI, and you see them wear the button, with a lot of pride, and rightly so. Can you explain to us in a very in a summarized version, what is the role of NIPSS, to Nigerian development in a very summarized
Okay, thank you, Laulu. Certainly, we don't say NIPSS, we say NIPSS.
NIPSS, yes.
NIPSS for short. And we have existed for the past 45 years. When General Obasanjo was leaving, he saw a large gap in capabilities of the ruling class to take over the democratic, to take over the reins of running government at that time. And then they set up NIPSS to train and encourage Nigerians to think strategically and to develop policies that will work both for the short term, medium term, and on the long term.
Right.
So our mandates have not been different from what it has always been. The MNI you see the participants wear is just like an icing on the cake for all of the hard work they put into coming to NIPSS. When you come to NIPSS, you are there for 10 months, and during the period of 10 months, you are almost like in a lockdown. Imagine the big men that they sent to us, keeping them down in the institute. They only get 3 exits for the 10 months, and they are allowed to be late for engagement, studies, and rest of it for not more than 20 minutes overall. So it's actually a place where people come and make a lot of sacrifices, working on a theme. Because what happens is that every year, Mr. President chooses a theme of study that he wants to have a better understanding of, and that he thinks can change certain things in the country.
All right, so let's talk about strategic planning. So Nigeria wants to be a member of the Security Council of the United Nations. This last UNGA, the issue came up. The president's speech also asserted it. It seems that the current power levels at the UN have said that, okay, look, we should give 2 seats to Africa. And Nigeria says, okay, we should get one of it. What is the plan? Or in your view, is that a goal? Is that a strategic goal that Nigeria should be interested in? And then this whole idea of Nigeria being the giant of Africa, a lot of people have said that we don't look like the giants right now, Do you think that those kind of aspirations that speak to prestige, do you think that those are the kinds of aspirations that we should be focused on as a nation at this time?
Well, you see, governance has several sectors. And of course, government also will have priorities. The good thing is that the federal government at this time doesn't have to put too much effort in pursuing taking one of the seats at the Security Council. 15 seats are open, and then in the past, the Big Five would decide who takes the 15. And you alluded to something that are we truly African giants? One thing I would say that NIPSS has afforded me is the opportunity to travel around African countries. And when I go to some other African countries and I just look back at Nigeria, I say, why don't we believe in ourselves? Some of these African countries even have economies that you cannot even compare with the economy of maybe Kano State. And they are a country. You look at some places, the urbanized areas are so very specially little that you wonder and say, why do countries like this compare themselves to Nigeria? Yeah. Not because I'm in Nigeria, but if you look at the size of our economy, the number of intellectuals we have everywhere in the world, it is in the best interest of AU to say if there will be 2 seats going to Africa, Nigeria should be given 1 African permanent seat, and then let other African countries rotate the rest. Not because I'm in Nigeria, but that is how I think it should be. Maybe we can then say, maybe after 5 years, there are some other countries that are doing well in Africa that you expect that, okay, they too can have permanent seats. But at different times, we should look at our top 5 countries, mainly South Africa. Let Ethiopia join the group, making 3. Let Egypt join, making 4. And Nigeria is doing very well right now, making 5. Let those countries rotate it amongst themselves. Because I look at a little country like Benin Republic. If Benin takes a seat as Security Council, with what? Are they going to even push any agenda? The resources are not there. The figures, the parameters to push it won't work for them. So for me, I think AU should look at this thing thoroughly, choose its best 5 countries, and let those countries rotate the permanent membership amongst for the 2 seats that is going to be given to Africa. You know, one thing about Mr. President is that he, I believe, is preparing for this, because he has charged us to look for pathways to ensuring that Nigeria becomes a $1 trillion economy in the shortest possible time. Now, if we become a $1 trillion economy, okay, we'll certainly have the stature to ensure that when we occupy a seat, we will certainly make the best use of it.
What's the timeline for that?
Yeah, you can't see it.
In a decade.
Yeah, I mean, we at NIPSS are a bit optimistic. I think next week we'll be taking a proposal to the coordinating minister of finance of the economy, and he's looking forward to it. You say, let's have a stakeholders engagement on how we can get to $10 trillion. You know, you're not going to sit in a place and say it's just going to happen. We have to be intentional about it. And I'm sure if the stakeholders engagement happen, we will be able to state clearly the pathways to the $10 trillion economy. But for us at NIPSS, we believe it's something Nigeria can do within the next 5 to 7 years. I mean, we've taken a cursory perusal of the economy.
So you think that Nigeria can become a $1 trillion economy?
No doubt at all.
Within its next 7 years?
5-7 years, yeah. You know, it's not too difficult. It's not too difficult. If, unfortunately, we don't have ambassadors right now. The top 8 economies in the world, if you send ambassadors there, you charge them with responsibilities of ensuring that they encourage the countries where they are to invest at home.
As the one in charge of strategic thinking, do you get the opportunity to advise the president on stuff like that? That look, we don't have ambassadors for 1 year. Sir, can you consider that? Is that part of your responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. President expects us to advise him. Okay, so it does not restrict us from what we can do. Certainly, when we have the opportunity and we feel this is what is the major problem right now, is settling and letting Nigeria understand why, as a first step towards becoming a trillion-dollar economy, is to defreeze the oil sector. You can't keep subsidizing the oil sector and then you want to become a $1 trillion economy. That's your most critical sector. How many people are playing there, and how many people are actually playing fairly?
Okay. The level of investment in oil and gas has been very poor in the last decade or so.
So, Mr. President knows what he's doing when he says $1 trillion economy. Yes, oil will play a role, but there are a lot of other areas. You will notice sometimes in July we had a stakeholders engagement on the mining sector. And we know what the mining sector can contribute to the GDP. We just need to tighten our belt. Very soon, we are going to run a course for the security agencies on how to identify the sand. The Oyinbo man comes into Nigeria, they tell you that this is an ordinary sand, and you think it's ordinary sand.
But they take it away.
And they take it away. Okay, well, if it's just ordinary sand, what are you doing with the sand?
Just sorry to interject you. I wanted you to comment on this, and we are wrapping up because of time. I think one of the things that we have failed to do, especially in dealing with this recurrent problem of insecurity over decades now, is that we have not developed our military-industrial complex. The level of the problem that we're dealing with and the kind of money that we have spent on security over the years, shows clearly that we ought to develop our own military-industrial complex. I mean, build, construct, manufacture some of these weapons. We have DICON, but DICON is underinvested. And we have not taken the opportunity of this festering security problem to develop our home military industrial complex to produce some of the weapons, and it's not because we don't have people who are already, even in private sector, that are already showing interest in. But but we haven't used that opportunity. What do you think about that?
Yes, I agree with you that we probably have underinvested in the military-industrial sector. And I understand that DICON is being resuscitated. Mr. President is doing something about that. When I mentioned to you that NIPSS will soon release its papers on the use of technology to fight terrorism and all other forms of insecurity issues, I was thinking about what we're going to advise Mr. President to do through empowering DICON to do certain things, through empowering AFIT to do certain things. For us, I think we have studied this situation, and we know that we need to bring them into the fray.
That's DICON.
Yes, DICON. The whole of the military complex must come together and determine that this is what we need to begin to do. There are some other challenges you have that, if you want to have that kind of sector come back up, you need your steel, the iron and steel technology, because weapons are basically sealed in seal. We ask, do we have this? But there are signs that there is nothing Nigeria cannot do.
I have one or two questions that I wanted to cover before we go because of our time. The Americans have elected Mr. Donald Trump for his second term. How do you interpret that in terms of Nigeria's foreign relations?
Well, I don't know how the Nigerian government would eventually react. But then from the antecedents of Donald Trump, we know he cares only about America. He says American first, make America great again, and he feels that his country is nowhere it should be. He's been giving out too much, he's been supporting too much. So for us as Nigerians, we have to sit up and begin to think about Nigeria too. We are not going to get anything easy from Donald Trump. He's going to look elsewhere. He's going to look inwards to solve Americans' problem rather than looking forward to solving Africa's problem. So it is an opportunity for us to brace up. Yes, we will find other partners. China is more than willing to support us. We have the BRIC countries that we can also look up to. And then if you look back, you have to ask and say, okay, let us actually measure this. What has America actually done for Nigeria? If we sit to measure, you say, okay, take America, take United Kingdom, take Germany, take France, put them one by one, take China, and then set up parameters, we will discover that more of what we do with America is word of mouth. We hope this will happen.
It might be, except in one particular instance in the last probably 5 years, remember that, the Barack Obama government put an embargo on the supply of military jets. They didn't give us, Barack Obama never signed
That is to show you.
But Donald Trump did. It was actually under Donald Trump that those fighter jets was actually supplied. He was
just more bothered about ensuring that his company is selling. If it pays America, he will do it. But to expect that Donald Trump would do something whole scale, well, if it comes, you just take it, but don't bank on it. What we need to do as a country is to look inwards and position Nigeria in such a way that America will be needing us. If America needs you, certainly they will come calling. So we have to ensure that position ourselves in a way that we don't need America that much that they should be needing us. But we have other strategic partners. Mr. President is smart enough. He set up a China-Nigeria strategic partnership, and he put a whole director general on it. So it means that he probably anticipated that. And of course, he started looking elsewhere. And when you say, what are the things that NIPSS has been doing? 3 months ago, we did a brief on it.
Okay.
Mr. President executed.
On the China...
Yeah, that we need to take our strategic partnership with China very seriously. And the good thing is that we started it before Trump lost, so they will know that we actually want to be their friend and we believe that they can give us some...
before Trump...
Oh, no, yeah, we did. Mr. President, I mean, give it to him. He's smart. He set it up. We went to China. He set up the strategic partnership
with China.
With China, put a whole very important personality there,
Mr.
Sukomi Tegbe. And I'm sure Mr. Sukomi Tegbe, I mean, he has started doing his work. I've spoken with him. We have something going on with China. We've shared papers, and he has more than enough intellectual support to back up. And we believe that what we are targeting is that we do strategic partnership with China that will contribute minimum of 7% growth to our economy. That's what Mr. Tegbe is trying to do, and I wish him well. We'll give him the necessary support.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Final question. The people of Niger Delta have not been very happy with the president over the policy decision to merge all the development commissions together. They are saying that, look, President Yar'Adua gave them the Ministry of Niger Delta, and now the president has brought everything together. In the argument of the president, he's saying that, oh, well, look, now we have Niger Delta Development Commission, we have Northwest Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission, Southwest Development Commission, that it makes sense to put every development, commissions or whatever in one place. That's the argument of the president. But they are saying that, no, Niger Delta is a peculiar situation. As a strategic thinker, what's your take on this? A strategic thinker for government, what's your take on that?
Well, certainly, taking Niger Delta Commission to make it broader and include other commissions shows one thing. Every sector of Nigeria is important. Yes, the Niger Delta is important. They probably have a large reserve of oil, and for some time we've been taking a whole lot from that area. But it does not mean that other areas have not been contributing. You see, if you look at oil does not actually contribute so much to our GDP.
But we get a lot of our foreign
exchange from it, but then you still have to operate internally. So I think they just need a little bit more of education on how it does not affect them negatively. If it does not affect them negatively, and they understand that that is actually the fact, I'm sure the people of Niger Delta are liberal enough to also believe that why shouldn't other sectors benefit? So one thing I want to assure them is that Mr. President's plan will not affect Niger Delta negatively. It is just to ensure that there is better coordination of all of the commissions. Mr. President cannot work against the Senate when the Senate decides to have a Northeast Development Commission. Okay, we have a Southeast Development Commission. Okay, these have become part of our system, it become part of our law. But then he says, let's bring everything together so that I can have a farmer understanding, a farmer grip on and control the development in those areas. So for me, I would just appeal to the people of Niger Delta to be a little bit more patient, and they will clearly see that the formation of the ministry will not affect them negatively.
It's not against their interest.
And that they should not put too much hope on the nomenclature that something is no longer Niger Delta. It's about bringing together everything under one single ministry. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And just to piggyback on what on your argument, the president has kept a Niger Delta person. As minister for regional development. So, I mean, at the level of political appointment, Niger Delta hasn't even lost.
Still have it.
Thank you so much, Professor Ayo Motayo, for coming to Inside Sources, and thank you for your insight, and thank you for the great work that is happening in NIPSS. We hope
very much
that we see more of NIPSS, especially dealing with the recurrent problems of the day as you have articulated. And, greetings and regards to all the MNIs. MNIs. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much, Alaolu.